if you're going to start your own business, you really do need to be 100% in. I've seen people who have one foot in, one foot out, and they've been doing that for like literally 5 years, and they still haven't launched, but they've been spending money, and you either do it or you don't.
Hi, Callum with a K here. Welcome to this week's episode of Student Enterprise TV, your weekly source of inspiration, practical tips, and nonsense to help you on your entrepreneurial journey. I'm joined by a very special guest, Joelle, who is the co-founder of Drop Bear Beer Company. I love saying that. Hi, Joelle.
Hiya, you're right.
I'm all right, thanks, on this very cold day here up in Scotland. How are you doing?
Well, I'm down in Wales, so we're not much better, I'll be honest.
It's miserable, isn't it?
Yeah.
But we won't let the weather dampen our spirits, and we're going to have a really good chat today. So I'm doing some digging, some research on Drop Bear Company. I do love saying that. And I see that you guys are maybe just coming for 2 years. And you've already won several awards, including a World Beer Award, which is fantastic. You've also won one of the British, the British. Wow, you can tell this is early in the morning.
Oh, we are the
British. The British Awards, which is really important, especially in the cold weather, to have a British award around. No, the Great British Entrepreneurial Award, which is very difficult to say. And you're now doing a crowdfund. So I look forward to diving into more of them in more detail. But before we get into any of that, just tell us more about you and where the company started and how it got started.
Yeah, sure. I'm not sure how much you want to know about me. I'm a strange individual, but I'll give you some top level things. So I'm Joelle, I'm 27, I'm from Wales. I studied both my degrees in Swansea University. So I did a BA in French and Italian and my MA in translation and interpreting. So yeah, it probably seems completely random that I now own and run a beer company, but we'll get into that in a second. In between my 2 degrees, I had what I like to call a quarter life crisis. I realized as I was finishing up my degree that I had absolutely no clue what I wanted to do with my life, and did the only logical thing and ran away to Australia, as you do. While I was in Australia, I met my partner in life and my now business partner, Sarah, and brought her back with me. And that is what I like to call the most expensive souvenir I've ever picked up on my she doesn't like me referring to it like that, but it's the truth. So yeah, I came back to Wales and wanted to continue my studies. I felt like I wanted to delve more into the language industry. Did that, did very well, got my first full-time role as a project manager, was promoted, everything was going very well. But I soon realized that I hated working in an office. I felt like I wasn't learning things every day, and that is something that I never realized how much I needed. I needed to be really mentally stimulated, and there were times where I felt like I had to do things a certain way because it was very arbitrary, and it drove me insane. So I'm very strong-minded. I've been a vegetarian since I was 4.
Wow.
I've always known what I want to do, so except for my career. And I left. So Sarah and I have always kind of bounced around business ideas. I think Sarah did a commerce degree, so she's a bit more relevant in terms of business. But I'm very creative, so we always had ideas bouncing around. And Sarah stopped drinking in October 2018, and we've always been really big craft beer fans. So that was the first time that we were really thrown into this kind of alcohol-free beer scene, because I've always really liked my beer and drinks, to be honest. I come from Swansea, so doesn't that? And we quickly realized that there was this huge gap. Not only was it the fastest growing drinks trend, the growth was just absolutely phenomenal. There wasn't a real, in the UK at least, a craft beer company. There was a massive gap for a really exciting brand. There was a gap for accessible, but also like really punchy, cool products. And, you know, as consumers, we really missed them. And we really missed it. We wanted, you know, as millennials, we wanted a brand that we could like really get behind, to get like, you know, almost a cult following to. And we kind of floated the idea of doing it. And at first I wasn't overly convinced, I'll be honest, because alcohol-free beer was so new to me. I really didn't understand how big the potential was. I thought that seems really niche. Who even drinks it, kind of thing. Did my research though and realized that I was ignorant, and I was wrong. You know, I'll be honest, that was probably the only time in my life I've been wrong. But one time I'll admit it. And we decided to just give it a go. So we went to Wilkinson's, actually. This is not a sponsored promotion, by the way. And we got a 10-litre saucepan, and then we popped over to the range, got a big jam thermometer because we couldn't find anything else. And we literally just kind of gave it a go. Sarah did a little bit of home brewing in Australia, but, you know, very, very basic. So we had like virtually no knowledge. There was this random Canadian guy we found on YouTube, and he gave tutorials on how to brew beer from grain, which is obviously what it's brewed from. Because if you're doing home brewing, you can do extract, which is essentially like a cake in a box kind of setup. It's very easy. Or you can do all grain, which is more authentic, and, you know, linked to a brewery. So we were following this guy. We got loads of books from Swansea Library. Had absolutely no expectations, I won't lie, because obviously we were following all these tutorials and everything, but they were brewing alcoholic beer. We were doing alcohol free. So we were kind of just taking pieces of advice from all these different areas and thinking, okay, well, let's just try it out. So we did our first brew. It should have taken 4 hours. It took about 12. In the middle of the brew, we actually went to a cheese festival because it was just taking too long. And I was like, I want to go to this cheese festival. I've waited like 6 months. We're going. So we left the beer out in the garden, covered, but like it was 100% gonna get infected. So we bottled it and everything after fermentation anyway. Thought it would end up tasting like egg, and that would kind of be the end of the journey. But we tried it, and honestly, it was really good. And we were just absolutely blown away at how we, you know, by just putting our minds together, how we'd managed to create like a really decent product with no knowledge, no equipment, no investment. So we're like, wow, okay, if we can do that with this setup, what can we do with a legit setup, with investment, with a brewery, with proper staff, everything? So we kind of started to throw ourselves into it. And I quit. I was still working in that role at the time. And so I was working, you know, 14-hour days at that point, which I would not recommend. To be honest, I'm doing that now, but at least it's for myself. It was just an insane time of working full-time, but then also essentially working full-time to get this business up and running. And when we got to January, we realized that, okay, we're at this point now where either we fully commit or it's just going to take forever and probably never happen. So I quit my job, which was probably the scariest thing I've ever had to do. You know, even if you're not 100% happy in a secure 9-to-5, there is security there. And it is comforting in a way. You can just go to work, leave, and, you know, you've got your income coming in. So did that. And I like to say things just kind of escalated from there, to be honest.
Wow, that was a very comprehensive answer. We covered a lot of ground there.
Yeah, so sorry.
Thank you for sharing that. There's so many things I want to pick up on. Like, I love the Australian love story. The guys that you guys met there, I think is fantastic. The fact that you're kind of more creative, and is it Sarah? Sorry, you said?
Yeah, Sarah.
Sarah's more kind of commercial, and you kind of have that opposite skill set, which is really cool. Yeah. I love the fact that you disappeared to a cheese festival.
Well, it's good though. It's totally worth it.
I'm definitely used to that when I'm waiting on something happening, like uploading a video or waiting on something happening. I'm going to nip off to cheese festival. Love that.
Exactly, you know.
And the fact that, like, yeah, you just kind of thought, let's just see how this goes, and you just went out and bought the stuff and just did it, and you just learned. You taught yourself on YouTube. I think that's awesome, and that's partly why we're doing these videos, is to share knowledge and share inspirations. I think there's a lot of things that are so cool, the fact you've just gone with it. And again, like many students and graduates we're speaking to, you were saying at the start that, you know, you didn't know what you wanted to do, and I think that's so common. And I don't know if you agree with this, but this is like a leading question, so this is why I'm such a bad interviewer. But there's a lot of pressure when you're at school to go to uni, and then when you're at uni to get a grad job. Do you feel like that? And did you feel that that wasn't your calling? Can you kind of relate to that?
Yeah, I feel like there's this huge pressure to go to university. I was always, and I sound like I'm blowing my own horn here, but I was genuinely always an overachiever at school. I always did very well. I was always intelligent. So it was kind of, that's just what you do then. You have to go to university. You have to do this. I don't regret it because I genuinely did love university and I love academia. But for what I do now and for a lot of people I work with, I think it's not the right move. I think we need to kind of move away from this idea that unless you go to university, you're kind of limiting your career options. Some of the best people, some of the most intelligent, out of the box thinkers that I work with didn't even finish college. Like it's just more of a mindset. And I think sometimes, and I'm not saying all the time, because obviously I went to university and this isn't the case for me, you can, if you're following a structure too closely, it affects the way you think and approach a task or a job. And, you're like, okay, these are my confines and I'm not going to move out of it. Whereas people who haven't gone through that maybe are just a bit more open-minded.
Yeah, that's super interesting actually. And equally for us, over the last 7 or 8 years, we've worked with people who have gone to uni and college and those that haven't. And I think, yeah, it's all about mindset. Is as you said, it's the universal thing that, and you don't need to go to uni to get that mindset. And equally, it doesn't inhibit you from having that mindset by going to uni. I think, yeah, you've got to find a path that's right for you, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. If you go to university, like what I wish I'd known and felt was, obviously university is great, but look at other things you can be doing at the same time. I was absolutely obsessed with the number on each grade that I got for each assignment for my overall score for the degree. But, there are probably more extracurricular things I could have done that would be benefiting me way more now as a businesswoman than the score of my degree. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah, I wish I'd known that.
So, switching gears just for a second then, you did Italian and French, did you say?
Yes.
See, I sometimes listen. So, and then now you run a brewery, which is fantastic. So clearly there's not too much correlation there, but are you from an entrepreneurial family or entrepreneurial background or not?
So my family on both sides actually originate in the valleys. I don't come from a very wealthy background. A lot of entrepreneurs seem to, but I truly am a grassroots kind of entrepreneur, and I do not at all come from an entrepreneurial family. They all are very traditional in their approach to a career. I think my grandparents only ever had one job. My parents have only ever worked in one industry each. My brother the same. And that is actually something that made this more difficult for me, I think, because I was kind of the same mindset. I thought, okay, I'm doing a language degree. I have to do a language job. I have to go work for someone else. And those are my options. And, I remember when I sat my parents, this sounds absolutely ridiculous, but I sat them down because they were so happy for me to have this job in languages and they were so proud. And I didn't tell them that I was developing Dropbet initially because I just wanted to have a bit of time to nurture it before, exposing it to anyone, obviously other than Sarah. So I remember sitting them down and telling them about it, and they just didn't know what to think or to say, and they were they were very shocked. They were like, okay, but why would you do this? Why would you leave your job? Why be it doesn't make any sense to us. And they weren't unsupportive, but I think they couldn't be supportive because they just didn't get it at all. And I had my moments then when I'd left my full-time job to do this, and I was thinking, what am I doing? Is this right? Was this a major mistake? Have I just invested all my money into, I don't know, the most ridiculous thing ever? But I think once they started seeing us win awards, once they came to award ceremonies and saw Sarah and I in a business setting and being, respected as businesswomen, asked for advice, asked to talk, I think they were like, oh, wow, actually, this is a real thing. And once we did our initial investment campaign last year, And, you know, we hit our target within just 12 hours. They could see like, wow, people genuinely believe in this. And now it's just, they can't imagine me doing anything else other than being an entrepreneur.
Thank you for sharing that. And I can relate to that entirely, because I'm also from a very sort of working class background. I'm the first person in our family to go to university. And when I first told my parents that I was starting a business, they just couldn't comprehend it. And I think because it's so alien to them, because they both had that kind of one job their whole career. And that is quite common that we hear. And they do question it, and as do your friends. I think it's really important that, you know, if you are going to do this, you kind of have to almost ignore your family and friends, which is actually sometimes even tougher than starting a business.
Yeah.
It's like, because you've always seen your parents in particular as being wise and all-knowing, and then you get to an age where you can almost challenge them or stand on your own 2 feet. You have to kind of cross that kind of bridge, haven't you, between like, okay, I hear what you're saying, but also your advice or your perspective from like 20 or 30 years ago when the world was entirely different.
Exactly. And things are only changing quicker and quicker now. And
Yeah.
I agree. It is challenging. And still now, I think sometimes when my mum especially asks, you know, how's work going? And I'll explain, and, you know, she genuinely wants to be supportive, but it's just, I guess people not sure how to be supportive. And
Sure.
but, you know, if the thought's there, that helps.
Yeah, exactly. Just picking up on something you kind of touched on, Joelle. You were saying about how you got started, you were just kind of testing it and just trying it out. When was the moment, or was there a moment where you said, right, we're doing Drop Bear 100%, this is it now?
Yeah. Well, I think once we'd done a couple of brews ourselves, we, you know, Sarah and I are both all or nothing type of people, and I think we wouldn't have even started playing around at all unless we were like, okay, well, if we feel we can do it, we will 100% do it. So, you know, it was always a very serious thing, even though we started with absolutely zero knowledge. But yeah, I think once we cranked out those first couple of brews, you know, we do have our horror stories from those very early days of major mistakes we made and accidents, always to me somehow, that happened in our kitchen. Yeah, I think we just threw ourselves into it, and that's when we started to, you know, work with a creative agency to develop the branding. And I think I remember going into their office and, you know, having the 3 proposals from my brief and seeing the 3 and then seeing the one that I knew was the one, and just like, wow, this is real, this is happening. And I think that just solidified it then.
That's cool. Thank you for sharing that. That's cool. I'm going to take a quick look at the questions. And the problem with standing all day is you get very sore legs.
One of those cool people with a standing desk, yeah?
Well, only when I do interviews. Just because I feel like I get more energy. Joelle, you've already said that you're an overachiever. You're never wrong. And you have had some horror stories, so possibly covered in scars in those first 2 brews. But what was, in your opinion, the biggest challenge since starting Drop Bear?
Okay, well, can I say kind of touch on two
Yeah,
things?
of course. I mean, we break rules. This is exactly how we work. So do
Right,
it.
a rebel, you know. Feeling really rebellious on a Thursday morning. Yeah, so obviously, you know, I'm going to say the generic answer of coronavirus has been a huge challenge. When the initial lockdown happened, we weren't even a year old as a company, and, you know, the first 2 years are kind of the danger zone, aren't they? They're the most challenging times where you just need to really establish the business, and then you more doors open to you. So for that to happen at such an early stage was always going to be challenging. I think as well, at that time, we just, a month before, we'd received all of our investment, and we were investing heavily into the on-trade and really building our presence there. We were making waves. We were really in these really promising talks with a number of big restaurant chains and pub chains in the UK. And then overnight, you know, that all closed down, and most of our sales channels were just gone. And, you know, we were like, okay, God, what are we going to do now? You know, are we going to just close down, or are we going to just completely change our business model and, you know, adapt essentially? So obviously that's what we did. So we just invested heavily in all our digital stuff. We revamped our digital strategy, built our own web shop, improved our Amazon offering, really built on our online suppliers. Export just took off as well. Luckily, other countries have fared a lot better than the UK. So we've been making a lot of sales through that. And yeah, but it's just been really challenging. I think I remember there was the first day where everything closed down, and Sarah and I were just sat in our conservatory and we're like, I just didn't know what to say. We both just kind of sat there in silence, like, what do we do? Like, no one, I know no one was prepared, but there's just like nothing in life that prepares you for a global pandemic as a young business owner. So yeah, that was a major one. And then secondly, and a very important one that I think is worth mentioning, is money. I think money is the biggest challenge to startups generally, but especially to female startups. Just 2% of global venture capital funds are invested into female-led businesses, despite the fact that female-led businesses are 65% more successful. So it's not based on merit. There's all these hoops you're going to jump through. It's just who you know, and it's just not fair. I know I sound like I'm just playing my tiny violin, but it's actually really hard, because it's not enough to have a great product, a great brand, a great team, great pitch, great anything. It's harder if you're a woman, and that has been a major challenge for us. We're a 100% female-led team. There's 3 of us, and yeah, we're going through our second investment round now. It is going very well, but we've seen the equivalent, but led by males, and things have gone a lot smoother and easier. So that is a bugbear, and something I would like moving forward to be a bit more vocal about, because I think people don't really talk about it. And obviously, with equality, we have come a long way, but in terms of startups and access to funding, there's a lot of work to do there.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, but at the same time, I think it's great that you guys are really, not letting that stop you, just taking it, head on. And yeah. I think it's right that we are highlighting this issue, because it is something that should be addressed. It just shouldn't be happening. No. So thank you for sharing that.
That's okay. Yeah, thanks. I think, we are really just going at it full force. And I think by just confronting it head on, you're challenging people a bit more. So yeah, fingers crossed.
Okay, Joelle. I think I know the answer to this question, but for the benefit of our millions of viewers, how is Drop Beer different to your competitors?
Yeah, sure. Well, we actually genuinely have a load of USPs. So I could just sit here and read you a probably boring list of USPs from a business perspective. But I think, obviously we're the world's first female-founded, completely female-founded alcohol-free beer company. We're the first gay one as well. And we're also going to be the UK's, second ever dedicated physical alcohol-free brewery, and literally less than 5 in the world. So wow. That is a huge USP. Just as a company and a brand, in terms of the alcohol-free market generally, we were a relatively early mover. So we've had an advantage there. But then with the physical brewery, we're definitely a really early mover there as well. So that's going to be such a USP for us. And I can't wait to have it.
That is very cool and something to be super excited about and very proud of. So well done on everything you've done so far to get to this stage, and equally glad to hear the crowdfund's going well. A chance to plug it.
Yeah.
Where can people find out about the crowdfund?
Yeah, sure. So, we're following essentially a BrewDog kind of model where, we do get these big, scary private investors coming in, putting in lots of money, but it is also open to our customers and fans. So we're running it on the platform called Crowdcube. So basically, you just got to go on, you log on, you create an account. It's essentially like Facebook, but for investment. So it's really cool, and you can invest from as little as £11. So it's really easy, really cool, and it's just a great, opportunity to be part of our journey. So yeah, check us out, guys. Capital at risk.
Mandatory disclaimer. We'll get that. We'll get our team to put that in massive letters over the screen.
I get in trouble if I don't say capital at risk, but obviously investments do always come with risks.
Sorry, did you say capital was twice there? And I've now said it 3 times, so hopefully we're covered.
Crowdcube will be pleased.
Woohoo. Who is your target audience for Drop Bear?
Yeah. Again, I guess, I think people look at alcohol-free beer and they probably think, it's just like a small group of people. Maybe it's a product for recovering alcoholics or something like that. But it's genuinely not. It's even more so than Sarah and I realized when we launched. It's got such a wide-reaching audience. So we've got customers between 18 and, well, literally like 80. It is insane. I think the brand itself does really appeal to 18 to 40-year-olds particularly, but I think we've done it in a way that it's a really young, cool brand, but it's not marginalized. And I think a 70 or 60 or 50-year-old can pick up a bottle and not feel like they're trying to be cool. They're just picking up a cool product that they enjoy. Sorry, the dog's just like coughing.
We did meet Pickles earlier. Is Pickles going to come and say a quick hello to us?
Yes, I think so. She's a diva.
There we go. Hello.
She's our office therapy dog. So yeah, she's being very naughty today though. But yeah. So
thank you, Pickles. We'll speak to you later, no doubt.
Pickles does take tips, by the way. What was I saying? I can't remember.
Oh, you were talking about something. This is why I'm so on track. I've been so good until this point, and then I've just been distracted by a dog.
Yeah, it's the dogs always ruin it.
No, I was asking you about your customers. You were saying that anyone in aged 18 to 80 without marginalising them.
Yeah, well, literally though, we get a lot of people who have health conditions, so maybe they're on medication and they're not supposed to drink alcohol, but they want to feel normal. They want to be able to go to the pub generally, obviously not right now, and have a drink. Yeah. But be healthy. Diabetics also, because we're very low sugar, and obviously alcohol is not safe for diabetics. Pregnant women, people who just don't drink for lifestyle reasons, athletes in training, recovering alcoholics. Some find it a trigger, some don't. Literally just people who maybe are lightweights. Like for me, I'm doing dry January right now, but I do drink, not heavily, but I've always been a lightweight. Like literally I could have 2 alcoholic beers and I'm probably on the floor, like falling asleep.
Snap.
Yeah. That's the thing, you're business. You're so tired, like, God, 2 beers in and you're gone. But now what I do is I'll have an alcoholic drink, then I'll have a Drop Bear, and then I'll have another one. And, over Christmas, I didn't have a lot of time with my family, obviously, because of the restrictions, but that allowed me to not fall sick, basically, like halfway through.
Always a plus.
Yeah, because what I always do is, I have a good drink on Christmas morning, then I have my Christmas dinner, and then I'm asleep. So this year I actually stayed awake, so it's good for that too.
Yeah, I can see that. You may be seeing my kind of craft beer right here. I have them all along the windowsill there. I'm a huge craft beer fan, which is another reason why I was looking forward to this chat so much with you. So I like blondes, IPAs, ambers, pilsners, and I'm really, really intrigued in Drop Beer, so I'm definitely going to order some because I'm very intrigued. Not just because we're speaking today, but I'm intrigued.
IPA is super popular with craft beer drinkers in particular because it is, like we are craft beer. We're not generic.
Yeah, sure.
Safe flavors. We are really strong, punchy flavor profiles. So they're never.
So give us a flavor, pun totally intended. I totally uninterrupted you there, which is, you're welcome for that. But give us the flavors. I mean, just for people watching that are interested in maybe giving it a shot, which you should, by the way.
Well, we got 4. They're all vegan, gluten-free, low calorie, low sugar. So that probably makes them sound like they're just water, but they're genuinely not. And we got 4. So the first one is our New World Lager. So again, you can get loads of lagers already, so we didn't want to just do another lager. So it's essentially an IPL, which is an India Pale Lager. So it's hoppier than your standard lager. You get some really nice malt flavors of like honey, biscuit, and toasted malts. But then from the hops, you get candied mandarin, limes, lemons, a bit of passion fruit and peach as it warms. Traditionally you have a lager pretty cold, but with this one, it's genuinely quite nice at more, not room temperature, slightly colder, but you do get more complexity coming from the hops there. So that's like a super sessionable one. I can't say that word. And then a second one is a yuzu pale ale, so it's a bit heavier. And from the malts you get toffee, caramel. It's almost got like a chewiness to it with the caramel, so it's really nice. And then yuzu, I'm not sure if you guys know what yuzu is. It's essentially a really big, fat, ugly looking lemon, and it's fallen off the back of a lorry. It's not the most visually appealing fruit, but damn, it tastes so good. It's like a cross between a lemon, a lime, and a grapefruit.
Wow.
So it's got like this tartness to it. So with those like toffee caramel notes and the like zingy tartness, it just really balances itself out. So it's one of our most popular beers. The third one is our tropical IPA. So we call it the tropical IPA because it's crammed with tropical hops. So yeah, you've got flavors of passion fruit, pineapple, peach, stone fruits, bit of citrus in there. But we've also got a bit crazy with the malts as well. So we've chucked in a bit of dark chocolate malt, which you don't tend to find in a standard IPA. So you've got almost a little bit of a smokiness to it. You get notes, very subtle notes of dark chocolate and coffee, and it's just like a really interesting punchy beer. It's not for the faint-hearted. It's my personal favorite at the moment. I do go through my like little phases, but I'm super into that right now. And then finally, we've got our Bonfire Stout, which is, it's got a specialty smoked malt from Germany in it. So it's smoky, it's got flavors of chocolate, a little bit of caramel, and lots of espresso flavors in that too. So it's a proper like adult stout. It's won Best Alcohol-Free Stout of 2020. IPA won Best Alcohol-Free IPA, and a Great Taste Award. An Imbibe Drinks Award. The Yuzu's won a Great Taste Award, and the lager hasn't entered any awards yet because it's new. So yeah, an award-winning range, I'd say.
It sounds like it, and I'm really keen to try it. And sorry, which one won the World Beer Award?
Oh yeah, which one was it? Oh my god, it was
Put you on the spot. It was the Yuzu.
Yeah.
The ugly lemon one. Good.
Yeah, the lemon.
I'm going to remember that. But no, thank you so much. That sounds cool.
It's okay. I love talking about beer. I could do it all day. Well, I do.
Oh dear. Just cut the video now and just talk about beer, because I'm the same. I love beer.
And it's never too early for an alcohol-free beer, you know?
That's a great point, actually. You make a very good point. Joelle, how well did university prepare you for running your own business?
Sure. So, I do say it seems a bit random that I do beer now after a language and interpreting degree. But, with university, there are a lot of transferable skills. You are encouraged to think for yourself. You are encouraged to do more research and to analyze things. And I remember specifically this one week when I was doing my master's, where I had, in 5 days, I had over 5 deadlines, and I was absolutely fuming. I was just like, what is wrong with this university? Why are they giving me so many deadlines all in 1 week when we've had months with no deadlines? This is not going to get my best grade. But the reality is, in life, especially when you have your own business, one deadline doesn't care if you've got another deadline the same day or the next day. Like, it is what it is. And yeah, it's stressful, but it does kind of prepare you to cope with an insane workload.
Good answer. Yeah, I like that. That's certainly a very positive and transferable skill, right? Because you have to juggle many balls and plates and dogs and everything all at one time. So, yeah, can relate to that one. Nice. And then keeping this kind of same vibe going, for the millions and millions of students and graduates watching this episode who are maybe thinking about starting a business or haven't even considered it before, can you please just give some advice to them?
Yeah, sure. I think if you're going to start your own business, you really do need to be 100% in. I've seen people who have 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and they've been doing that for like literally 5 years, and they still haven't launched, but they've been spending money, and you either do it or you don't. And I think you need to be mentally resilient. We've all got our issues, and I have really struggled with stress since launching the business. I've definitely learned to cope better, but it's really hard. And I think there is a lot of, and I don't want to be negative here, but there is a lot of toxic positivity around entrepreneurship. Like, it is great, and it is the most amazing feeling when you create something and you put it out into the world and it's well received and it's just there and it exists and you made that. But it's really hard. And I think don't go into it thinking it's going to be this fairy tale. It's not. It's a lot of really hard work. There is no work-life balance. That's something that's important to me, but I just don't have it. And it's not realistic, at least for the first couple of years. And, you know, just kind of listen to your gut as well, because I think especially when you're young, so if you're a graduate, you're likely to probably be on the younger side. A lot of older people, or just people generally, might come in, see you're young and want to give you advice, but not all advice is good advice. And I think you need to, you know who you are, you know what you're doing, and listen to advice, but at the end of the day, listen to your gut. That's the final say, I'd say.
What a fantastic answer. I want to clap for that, because that is spot on in terms of, so many things. So part of the reason Entrepreneur exists is to cut through the mess of bad advice, myths, and, as you say, I'm going to steal that phrase, that kind of toxic positivity about, you know, or even the nonsense like, you know, you have to work 24 hours to be a business owner, to be a success every single day, which is not sustainable as a human being. Like, maybe there are days, and there have been for us, where you have to do it maybe 1 or 2 days, but not every day. Yeah. And yeah, the whole balance thing is certainly a topic that's always comes up, but there are so many things. And I think while certain TV shows that we won't mention have raised awareness of starting your own business, they don't talk about the grind. I mean, most of my days sat behind a computer is not doing these fun things. It's like speaking to cool folk like you, unfortunately. It's just, and that's just it. It is just answering emails. It's doing all the kind of stuff that you just have to keep doing, the kind of really unsexy stuff. And that is a message that needs to be told. So thank you for sharing that, Joelle.
That's okay. Thank you. Thanks for listening to me. I think it's just good to, I think everyone would be better off if we were all just a bit more realistic and authentic. So
yes,
I agree with what you're doing.
I love it. Thank you. Realistic and authentic. Absolutely bang on. And then super quick last question. Where can people find out more about Drop Bear, please? Yeah. Website, social. We'll put them up on the screen, hopefully.
Oh, cool. All right. You're cool with your editing. We're all on the usual, social channels. So check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We have our own website and web shop, so dropbearbeers.com. Someone stole our domain of dropbearbeer.com just before we launched. So watch out for that as well, because there are people who are checking Google searches. So and obviously if you'd like to invest or find out more about that, check us out on Crowdcube. And yeah, that's about it.
Thank you. Capital at risk. Don't worry, I'll get your disclaimer in for you. Love it. Well, listen, thank you so much for your time, sharing an amazingly inspiring story, some really practical and brutally honest, actually, quite vulnerable stuff. So thank you for sharing that. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun. So
thanks, Callum. Great to meet you.
Good to meet you. And thank you for watching too. Hope you've enjoyed it. We'll be back next week with another episode of Student Enterprise TV coming your way. Until then, stay safe, stay well, and we'll see you right here next Tuesday.